So I want to start off by saying the thank yous, a few thank yous. The first thank you is to all the speakers who have given up their time, given us their wisdom, given us their energy to keep fighting. Because whether someone says yes or no, we will not stop. And we will keep fighting until that building there is free of the Chinese Communist Party. I want to say a big thank you to the organisers. Today we have been treated to some very high-profile politicians. Apart from Kenny Badenlock, Syrian, Duncan Smith, who's been a tireless supporter of the anti-CCP cause and for human rights throughout his political career. We've had politicians from other parties to give their heartfelt support. The third thank you is to our friends, the Metropolitan Police, who don't always get the thanks they deserve. But they are what protects us from the bad will and the bad deeds of actors like the Chinese Communist Party. We have a lot more to fear from the Chinese Communist Party than they have from us. And if Sakia does say yes to the mega embassy, we will need your protection, colleagues in the Metropolitan Police, more than ever. The Chinese Communist Party are known for their long reach. And I would also like to say thank you to each and every one of you for taking the trouble and the effort to come here. You are what makes these protests a success. You bring the reporters here, and the reporters magnify our message throughout the country. And a thank you to the media and the reporters. So, a few home truths. We've all heard about the national security threat. I won't go into detail. It made the Telegraph front page earlier this week, and we should be thankful to all the national media that are reporting it. Secondly, second home truth, British citizens and refugees will feel less safe in the streets of our own country if the Chinese Communist Party get a foothold in their mega embassy. The third home truth is simply this: the Chinese Communist Party's human rights abuse record, and that should speak for itself. Sakia Starmer, you are a human rights lawyer, for God's sake. You know what a human right is better than most of us. What on earth are you, as our Prime Minister and Labour government, doing, even thinking about giving the Chinese Communist Party a mega embassy? Sakia Starmer and Labour government, you have eyes. Are you blind to the Chinese Communist Party human rights abuses? Sakia Starmer and Labour government, you have ears. Have you not heard the warnings? The warnings from British security services, MI6, GCHQ, the Metropolitan Police. Sakia Starmer and Labour government, you have a heart. Do you not feel the suffering of the Tibetans, of the Uyghurs, of the Hong Kongers, of the Southern Mongolians, of the Chinese dissidents. And Turkey and Labour government, if you have a conscience, you will do the right thing and say no to the Chinese Communist Party mega embassy. We have a vote. And for those who don't have a vote at the moment, you will have a vote in the future. So our message to Turkey and the Labour government is we will remember your decision when we vote in future elections. And finally, friends, we have a message to the Chinese Communist Party. Mega embassy, don't come to London, go to hell. Because that's where the mega embassy belongs. So, okay, CCP, go back to hell.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. And for our next speaker, I'd like to invite Benedict Rogers, who many of you will know.
Gong Fuk Hong Gong. Gong Fuk Hong Gong. Gong Fuk Hong Gong. Free Tibet.
Free Tibet!
Stop Uyghur genocide.
Stop Uyghur genocide!
Free China.
Free China.
I want to say firstly how amazing it was to hear from the leader of the opposition and from other politicians from across parties, and also how wonderful it is to see so many people here from not only the Hong Kong and Tibet and Uyghur and Chinese dissident communities, but also friends from Burma or Myanmar, and I think maybe from Ukraine and other dictatorships or conflict situations that the Chinese Communist Party is itself facilitating and enabling. You know, we have over the last year been here many times. I kind of think we should just move into that building. We've been here so often. This is our 9th protest. But it is the most important protest because unless the government changes its mind in the next few days, its decision is imminent, and that's why we are gathered here today. You all know that we all know the reasons why this embassy should not go ahead. The issues of transnational repression, the issues of the human rights crisis across China, and the CCP's espionage. And if you weren't familiar with the issues, and if you haven't been following the news, just look at the front page of the Telegraph this week. China Embassy's secret threat to the city. So we say collectively with a very loud voice, Keir Starmer, do not approve this mega embassy. Of course China must have an embassy in this city, but they can have another location that is less prominent, less historic, less symbolic, and less big. It should have an embassy for purely diplomatic purposes and not a spy center and a hub for transnational repression, which is what this building will be. But I want to say something a little bit new. I know time is limited, and so I want to be brief. And I'm not going to rehearse all the different arguments in detail, but I want to say something in addition to what we all have been talking about today, and that is granting this mega embassy, this super spy base, this hub for transnational repression is wrong at any time, but it is especially wrong when there is a 78-year-old courageous British citizen who has been in solitary confinement in a jail in Hong Kong for the last 5 years and faces the possibility of dying in jail, and that, of course, is Jimmy Lai. To give this embassy to the butchers of Beijing while Jimmy Lai languishes in jail and faces perhaps a life sentence, whether a legal life sentence or just the practical reality of the fact that his health and his age mean he's unlikely to live until his release. To do that is completely wrong. Keir Starmer, we believe, is planning to go to Beijing at the end of this month. He should not go to Beijing unless Jimmy Lai is released. Jimmy Lai's release should be a condition for that visit. And I have one last suggestion. Instead of approving this mega embassy, this super spy base, this hub for transnational repression, instead of doing that, Tower Hamlets Council, and by the way, I want to express my solidarity with the residents of Royal Mint Court, because that's another argument. They will, if this goes ahead, either be evicted from their homes or become residents of the People's Republic of China, neither of which is acceptable. But Tower Hamlets Council, some while back, passed, if I recall, a motion to rename the streets, and I think that motion should be revived. Let's rename this street Hong Kong Avenue, and that street Tibet Road, and another street Uyghur Avenue. And let's also have a Taiwan Square. And most of all, let's rename not just this plaza here, but this whole intersection Jimmy Lai Junction. That, I think, would be a much better use of the government's time, attention and resources, and it would be what we all want. So we will not give up. We will support the residents of Royal Mint Court if it comes to it for a judicial review. But let's hope it doesn't come to it. But whatever happens, let's continue to raise our voices and to say a mega no to this mega embassy.
Thank you, Benedict Rogers. And for our next speaker, I'd like to invite the president of the UK Uyghur community, Moira.
Because this proposed Chinese mega embassy, it's not normal diplomacy. It's a power project, and for Uyghurs in the UK, it presents a direct, real threat. Uyghurs know what repression looks like. In our homeland, we cannot protest, we cannot speak without risking detention, disappearance, or worse. Uyghurs in the UK have been followed, filmed at peaceful demonstrations, and intimidated into silence. Some are afraid to show their faces because they know what transnational repression looks like. Pressure here, punishment there. When you can threaten someone's loved ones overseas, you don't need to arrest them in Britain. You just need to frighten them. That's why this mega embassy matters. A larger, more fortified, more resource compound is not just a building. It means more capacity, more civilians, more monitoring, more intimidation. It would deepen fear in our community and shrink our rights in practice, not by changing British law, but by making people too afraid to use it. And let's be clear, this is not only an Uyghur issue. This is British national security and sovereignty issue. If any foreign authoritarian state can intimidate communities inside the UK, then British authority over its own public life is weakened. If protesters can be monitored, if critics can be pressured, if people self-censor out of fear, then free speech and democratic participation are being eroded. Today, it's Uyghur, Hong Kongers, Tibetan, Taiwanese activists, Chinese dissident, journalists, academics, but tomorrow even British elected officials who speaks up. So we ask the British government, whose safety matters, will the UK defend the rights to protest without intimidation? Will it protect communities targeted by foreign repression? Or will it allow fear to quietly take root in London? We say today clear, no to intimidation, no to civilians, no to translational repression on British soil, no to Chinese mega embassy. And we say yes to freedom, safety, and the right to speak without fear. We Uyghurs say clearly to Chinese government that you will not stop us to fight for our freedom and our human rights. No to mega embassy!
No to mega embassy!
No to mega embassy!
No to mega embassy!
Free Uyghurs!
Free Uyghurs!
Free Turkestan!
Free Turkestan!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free South Mongolia!
Free South Mongolia!
Keep hands of Taiwan!
Keep hands of Taiwan!
Thank you.
Thank you, Moira. For our next speaker, I'd like to invite Simon Cheng from Hong Kongers in Britain.
I stand here with voices from across the parliament, across the parties, including the MPs and even officials within Labour who oppose the Chinese Communist Party's mega embassy plan. This is not a party politics issue. It is a question of national security, democratic integrity, and a long-term responsibility. And this is the moment to speak clearly. No one here is opposing diplomacy. China, like any country, has the right to diplomatic representation. Dialogue matters, engagement matters. But diplomacy must never become exposure, and engagement must never override the judgment. What is being proposed is not a routine embassy upgrade. This would be the largest Chinese embassy in Europe, placed in a highly sensitive part of London, close to the City of London, near critical data and financial infrastructures, and surrounded by dense public space and civic life. Scale matters, location matters, and track record matters. We must be honest about the nature of the Chinese Communist Party. When we describe it as a belligerent authoritarian power, this is not a rhetoric. It is a pattern. It is a long-term trajectory. We have seen the freedoms dismantled in Hong Kong, in breach of Sino-British international commitment and treaty. We have seen threats towards the democracy in Taiwan, and we have seen civilians, coercion and intimidation extend far beyond China's border. This is not speculation. It is a lived reality. Many in Hong Kong, Uyghur, Tibetan, and Chinese communities here in the UK know this reality every day and know it personally. In the official consultations, we are often treated as the community concern, a subgroup to be managed quietly, separately, and sometimes cautiously. But let me be clear, Hong Kongers in Britain have never hidden who we are, and we have never softened our stance. We speak openly, publicly, and consistently because our experience demands it. We do not ask for special treatment, we ask for moral clarity. When Hong Kongers raise the alarm, we do so not out of fear, but out of responsibility. To listen politely while disregarding those warnings is not neutrality, it is a choice. We have already seen our warnings come true on the British soil. In Manchester, a peaceful protest outside the Chinese consulate, and with our protester being dragged inside and assaulted by the diplomats, the Chinese diplomats. Whatever legal argument followed, the message was clear. The boundary between diplomatic space and public space was treated as optional. That should have been a warning. If this can happen at an existing consulate, we must ask what risks are created by a vastly expanded diplomatic complex in one of our busiest parts of London. Diplomatic premises are granted special protection, but those protections depend on trust. Trust that diplomatic privilege will not be abused. Trust that people exercising their lawful rights will not be intimidated. That trust has been strained and damaged. This mega embassy is not just large, it is extraordinarily complex, with secure internal areas far beyond the normal diplomatic needs. This is about capacity. Capacity that raises serious questions about civilians, intelligence activities, and coercive reach. And once that capacity is embedded, once permissions are granted and the protections locked in, it becomes almost impossible to retreat, reverse, and withdraw. That is why this cannot be treated as an ordinary planning decision. Our planning system was designed to assess buildings, not geopolitical risks, transnational repression, or long-term national security consequences. Yet, we are told this approval is expected, quietly, administratively, as if this were routine. That is unacceptable. And we must also speak honestly about timing. This decision is being pushed just as the Prime Minister prepared to visit China to discuss trade and investment. Engagement on trade matters, investment matters, but security and integrity matter more. Trade should strengthen our country, not soften its judgment. Investment should never come at the price of silence, self-censorship, and strategic vulnerability. A democratic nation does not demonstrate confidence by lowering its guard in moments of negotiation. It demonstrates confidence by showing that its values and securities are not bargaining chips. If this decision is rushed to smooth diplomatic optics or commercial discussion, that would send a dangerous message. That economic convenience outweighs national security and democratic principle. There are serious concerns about the process. If decisions appear to be determined before public hearing concludes, then consultations becomes performative, not democratic. Judicial reviews exist for precisely this reason, to ensure the decisions are lawful, fair, and not improperly influenced. This is not obstruction, this is accountability. Opposing this mega embassy plan is not anti-China. Let me say that clearly. It is pro-security, it is pro-democracy, and it is pro-responsible engagement. The Chinese people deserve rights and freedoms, not the global expansion of a system that denies them. So today, we call for three simple things: time, transparency, and accountability. Post this approval, allow genuine scrutiny. Do not trade this long-term security for short-term convenience. World peace is not perceived by silence or speed. It is preserved by foresight, restraint, and the courage to say, not yet, not like this, not without proper scrutiny. Britain must decide what kind of country it wants to be remembered as: one that trade principle for convenience and call it pragmatism, or one that understood the moment it was in and chose security, values, and responsibility. This is the moment to choose. Do not approve this plan, not now, not like this, and not at this cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon Cheng. Unfortunately, We've been told that we have to end this event at 3:30 p.m. sharp. We do have one more speaker, but unfortunately we don't have the time at the moment, so I'd like to make a closing remark. I'd like to thank every one of you for being here today. As campaign lead for Free Tibet, it's been an honor to announce each and every single outspoken speaker we've had today. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you individually for coming out today, for taking the time, for standing with us, for standing with truth, for standing with justice, and for standing with the people. So I wish you all a safe journey home. We'll find out the decision soon by the UK government. Regardless of what their decision is, we will stand unwavering. We will still resist the CCP, everyone here, and we will continue to work with allies and our cross-movement friends and our MPs across the House. So thank you all.